Good evening, Ospreys. Today marks the 20th anniversary of the worst terrorist attack to ever be carried out on American soil. That fateful day changed our country forever. Many of us were very young or not even born yet, but we all know its massive impact. We had the honor to speak with Ms. Dawn Knipe, a UNF Administrator who was 1 block away from the World Trade Center when the first plane hit.
It was a regular Tuesday morning. I was on my way to work. I had just gotten off the ferry because I used to commute from New Jersey to New York and was walking by when I heard the plane crash. I was walking on my way to work. I would always walk past the World Trade Center, and I had just walked past it. I was crossing the street, so my back was actually, the World Trade Center was to my back, and I heard a low flying jet, and that was surprising because you don't hear that sound in New York City. Being outside and you hear a plane that is flying so low, that was the first startling moment. And then the explosion. And so when I turned around and there were a lot of people on the street, we still couldn't see what happened. And so we had to kind of walk around the block. And that's the first time I saw it. The tower, the top of it was just in flames with papers flying all over the place. You didn't know what was going on. So the whole gravity of what was going on did not register. As I said, it was a plane. We knew that it crashed. We didn't know where. And then I heard somebody, I remember hearing people, it's like it's over there. And we went around and we saw that it was the World Trade Center. And so when we saw it, you didn't know that it was a terrorist attack. It was just a bad accident. And my first feelings were really, oh, I'm so sorry for the people that were up there, that this plane accidentally crashed into it. It was just a very sad feeling. You know, my brain didn't register that, oh, this is a beautiful day. Why would a plane hit the World Trade Center? But other people all like that knew something was very wrong going on. I didn't foresee what was going to happen after that. It was just that momentary, there must have been many people who have either been killed or hurt that are up there. There were all different types of reactions, but we were crowding together. I do know, and that will typically happen on the street. If you're a witness to something, the people who are around, they all start talking about what happened. And so we all there was it was rush hour in New York City, so it's a huge crowd looking up at the World Trade Center and people wondering what was going on. And there were some people who were very panicked, and I encountered some of those. And it was just disbelief, like, what's going on? What is this? I went up to my office to be with my office mates and see what was going on. We were on the 8th floor when the building now remember, there's really no news going on. This is pre-cell phones. I mean, we had cell phones, but there was no texting, there were no images, there were no people getting in touch with each other. So everything we were hearing was just on the radio. And so we were in the office thinking, you know, oh, a plane hit. And then when the second plane hit on the radio, we knew that there was some kind of an attack going on. And so we all wanted to be together on the 8th floor. And while we were on the 8th floor, when the building collapsed, if you saw like a lot of the documentaries, we didn't see it. Again, it's a sound thing. We heard the building falling. And it was kind of like it sounded like gunfire, to be perfectly honest. And we, on the 8th floor, thought, oh my God, the people outside, because we saw the people running. You know, when the cloud of smoke came, you see all those people running on the street. Yeah. When we were looking down, we saw them running and we heard the news. We thought that there were people being shot on the ground. We thought that there were like gunmen or something down there. And then we saw smoke coming from the window and we thought it was bombs. So we all like hit the floor. That's what the cloud of smoke. After time, we decided we needed to evacuate the building, and going down the steps is when one of the students said, look out the window, and we went and the window was just totally opaque. And so we waited inside until the cloud kind of dissipated. Although it was getting, you know, it was such a pretty day, the windows were open, so the cloud of smoke was coming in the building also. And then when we got down to the ground floor, we evacuated the building, so we evacuated in that cloud of smoke. We didn't get hit with the big rush, but once you got outside, you needed a mask, and it was pretty devastating. The smoke cloud was everywhere around you. It was like walking through a cloud. I used to have to walk past it every day on my way to work. And I would say for at least the first 2 months, it was just what I remember more than the site, because it was just this gigantic crashed up construction site. It took such a long time for them to clean up the site. But the thing I remember most was the smell, because all the air in Lower Manhattan had this kind of mix of it was kind of a metallic, but a putrid smell. And you didn't have it so much when you were indoors, but as soon as you walk outdoors, I remember that for months, just smelling that. I think what I remember the most was everybody just wanting to do something, and the feeling of helplessness, that you wanted to help, you wanted to give blood, you wanted to collect things and donate things. You wanted to help the policemen and the firemen and the first responders. You wanted to help the people who had family members that were killed in it. There was no I'm this, you're that. We were all in it together, just wanting to help each other. It was a real eye-opener, that's for sure. What happened after that, it really was a time to reassess who I am, who other people are, what's important. It was a time to reassess what was important in life. And up until that point, I was assistant dean of students at the university and very involved in student activity, which I loved, but it really absorbed almost all of my life. I was working really long days, and it was after that that I really took a step back and said, I'm not spending enough time with my family, I'm not spending enough time with my friends. And so that was a life change for me, to then say, I need to focus on what's important in my life and not just live the rat race, which is what I felt like I was doing. When it happened, everything before 9/11 was, I think the country felt very isolated from the rest of the world. It was a naive sense of all these things happen elsewhere. And I think after 9/11 is when the country really started to realize, no, we are part of the global world. And that we are part of world news. World news doesn't just happen elsewhere. We're a part of it. And I think that was a big eye-opener for the country. I'll go back to take time to really think about what's important, that things can change in a moment. We've seen that with the pandemic. Who knew that a year and a half ago that all of a sudden the country would be dealing with this horrible pandemic. Things can change quickly like that. But I just think be true to yourself, to know who you are. The world is going to interrupt your life throughout your time. The only thing you really can control is yourself and how you respond to those things. And so always remember that. Always remember not to take things so personally, know who you are, and stick to your principles.